Brandon K Show coming to you right now. Welcome back to the Brandon K Show. I'm your host, as always, Brandon K. This is a real show. I'm here in my real studio, and I was just watching yesterday's episode on conscious reprogramming, and I gotta say, I thought me and my guest Nick and Frank did such a great job getting the point across I was trying to get across, which is about we always have control over our thoughts and there's always improvement we can be making, and we can always be improving. The mind is something that can be changed over time with work, with meditation. Please go watch that episode right now, the conscious reprogramming episode of my show that came out yesterday, because we said it best there. But today we're going to go in deeper with my co-host from yesterday, Mr. Nick.
Yo, yo, yo. Hello. Thanks for having me, Brandon.
Yeah, so
Great
you
to be
watched
here.
that episode and it came out pretty good. We were even talking about how our minds could even tell us like, "Oh, I didn't think I did that great of a job," but when you watch it back, my mind told me, "Hey, that I did a lot better than I thought I did."
That's hilarious, Brandon. Agreed. We're always our worst critics, and I think the filters we look through sometimes aren't fully accurate because we're our harshest critics.
So this today's episode is gonna be more about conscious reprogramming, more about Nick's story. Before I start asking Nick questions, I'm gonna say that Brandon K Show is sponsored by Giftiply charity wrapping paper, and I even have this neat 30-second ad I'm gonna play for you real quick.
This wrapping paper is disrupting the industry. Each wrapping paper design tells a story inspired by the missions of our nonprofit partners. We have a diverse set of causes you can support, from childhood cancer research to conservation and animal welfare to LGBTQ plus youth and more. Our paper is sustainable too. We use soy-based inks on 100% recyclable newspaper print for a boutique quality finish. And remember, now every gift can give back with Giftiply.
Got to give a shout out to those guys. On my episode Charity Chat, I talked with the founders and used promo code BK Show to get 25% off of that eco-friendly wrapping paper. 33% goes to charity. Really cool wrapping paper. Go check it out. All right. I encourage you to go buy some wrapping paper for Christmas, Nick.
Dude, that's some pretty dope stuff, and it's a great cause, and I think everyone, hey, you need wrapping paper. Eventually, you're going to run out, so might as well stock up if you don't already have it.
For a good cause. Now, conscious reprogramming. What was your takeaway from watching yesterday's episode that we filmed a while back?
I think the main takeaway for me with conscious reprogramming is that nothing is absolute, everything is relative, everything is always changing in this world and inside us in the way that we perceive things. And that the science behind it is that it's neuroplasticity. If you look that definition up, it truly shows it just means change. It means that things can change. So I just think change is such a good theme for everything. And we feel fixated. Things, the days feel like Groundhog's Day, because we're going to the same job, the same gym, talking to the same boss, to the same spouse, same family, and that tricks our brains into thinking it's the same, and that it's nothing's changing or moving. But in reality, everything is always different. We've never been in this moment right now, even though it feels like it's just 5:30 on Monday.
Right. Yeah, I kind of feel like we get stuck into a pattern and then we're like some part of our brain is like afraid to move past what we know already. So like I could offer you some great opportunity and you're going to be like a little bit afraid to go take on the next challenge even though it's going to be a great thing because your brain just has that preconceived fear.
Yeah, fears and being stagnant, and I think a lot of it too. I think being open minded can equate to neuroplasticity as well, because by default, if we're closed minded, and we think we know everything, our brains aren't rewiring. It's the same thoughts, which then will lead to the same emotions, which will then lead to the same outcomes, which is just the same, the same. But in reality, you could change anything.
Let's see, what do I got here? Let's see, can you read this? Let's see.
Go back a little further, Brandon. Can you just scoot back a tiny little more, and then I can see the whole message?
Guys down.
It's there. It is. Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values become your destiny. Gandhi. That's
We
some
also
crazy.
on this on the belief cycle episode, BEAR. Nick and I did that episode with our friend Roger. That's another one to check out for people who might just be seeing this one for the first time. We're tackling this head on, this idea of how to change the thoughts. Where do we start? Do we start with beliefs? Do we start with energy, emotion? Do we start with action? Do we start with results? It's up to you.
First, it's up to you. I mean, we gotta. Well, that cycle is amazing, and I think the cycle. I love every stage in the bear cycle, and you have to have the belief to really run with the energy and the action and the result. But if you got the energy can come before belief sometimes. Maybe the results all of a sudden you haven't put in much action, and then you're seeing some result, and that inspires you to put in even more action. But generally speaking, that is how we want to go about things. And when you're so to rewire, the first thing is we need to realize how can we unlearn a lot of what we have learned by our parents, our society, our friends, pop culture, movies, whatever. And a way for me to unlearn what I've learned, or at least to start to question things in more of an open-minded manner, like, is this the proper way to look at this thing? Am I being too narrow-minded, too opinionated? Am I not seeing all sides, enough perspectives of this? And what a great way to do that is to just slow everything down and to slow our thoughts, to slow our outlook, and to kind of how can we track, okay, maybe I'm saying this because actually deep down I have a fear about this situation. Or maybe I'm saying this because deep down I'm greedy and I want to say it like this. Or maybe there's some if you can honestly sit there and ask yourself where something is coming from, I think that's also the beginning of rewiring is truth and getting closer to why am I acting this way? Is this just a reaction? Or is this because, I've done some research and really thought about why I'm viewing this situation like this and really getting to the depth of it. Meditation, and I've said this in the last episode, absolutely changed my entire life, and will continue to change my entire life. And I'm going to continue to do it every day. And imagine everything in your life moving so fast, and all of your thought patterns and all your reactions, and everything's reactive. It's defaulted. It's programmed in, and it just is firing really, really fast. And it's been firing that way for a really, really long time. And you're just gonna go about your day like that. Imagine being able to just slow all of your thoughts down, all of your opinions down, all of your judgment down, everything. Imagine being able to kind of question those things a little bit. Like,
Right.
Why have I always been able to act like this? Or why have I acted like this? Or why have I perceived things like this? What meditation has done for me is it slowed my brain down tremendously to where I can actually see and I can have honest conversations with myself about why I'm viewing things like this, because it's not so fast. It's not people are very reactive. For instance, like I may say, hey Brandon, let's go to the gym. you may say no,
Right.
because
Yeah, very likely. I
maybe
don't.
you tell me you're tired, or and this is an example,
Yeah.
but you may not even know that you're saying no because there's a fear behind it. Like
Yeah.
that's all of a sudden your subconscious mind is actually dictating your conscious reality, and you're saying no due to something, but there's actually something deeper that's all of a sudden directing your life. And that's where there's a quote that says like your 95% of your life is actually directed by your subconscious. Imagine being able to dive into that and reprogram your consciousness towards more truth and accuracy and things that are more reliable.
Yeah,
So
you're making me think of something here, which is like yesterday I was at the gym and I I went there and I all I really ended up doing was like going to the jacuzzi. But like I've been in a good flow where like every time I go, I'm working out, I'm lifting, I'm on the treadmill, whatever. I have the energy. But like lately, when I'm out of the habit, and then I'm like thinking about like I want to go lift, but like my mind's just telling me no, 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 no. I'm wondering like what is it in my brain that like just is it just because I broke the habit, or is or did some big fear pop up that's like, okay, don't do that anymore or something?
and I started off pretty deep, and let's start with like more of a topical level. Absolutely. So they say like after 30 days you can kind of ingrain, or I don't know the opposite of ingrain, or unwind a habit, right? So you can either implement it or deactivate it. And the hardest phase of taking on something new or getting rid of something is, they say, that first 30 days. And some things are going to bind to receptors more potently, or maybe they react differently, but a general framework is 30 days. So the first thing we have to do is realize that I'm not going to want to go to the gym in
Yeah,
the first 30 days. I'm not going to want to
right.
walk my dog, or read a book that could be helpful for me, or do something that's difficult for me that I'm not used to, right? Because we're not used to that pattern. We're uncomfortable. It requires contrary action, which
Yeah,
means getting out of your comfort level and doing something until it becomes more comfortable. And they say after about 30 days of doing that regularly, and then I can imagine after 60, that level increases even more. And after 90, it ingrains even more. But essentially, you can rewire your patterns in your outlook on life as well, only through action. So
right.
literally,
I somehow have like I don't know how well I believe in that habit breaking thing because like I've been able to break habits,
sure.
and then as soon as you go back, you're back to just laziness again. If I stop going to the gym every day, it's like I'm out of the flow.
And I think that 30-day is, again, it's like
It's
going to
just
the gym compared to something else maybe different, like
yeah, it's
getting off alcohol
deep,
or whatever.
deeply ingrained stuff. But like, question is that I when I was watching the conscious reprogramming episode, I was feeling like we were more like talking from the hilltop, and like I want
Mm-hmm.
to go back to what it was like for Nick
Mm-hmm.
early on in life, and like where was your head at? Did you struggle with your negative thoughts like your whole life?
For me, so I'll just be blunt about this. Yeah, let's start. Let me tell a bit about my story. So, I was always like a really social kid, really outgoing, had a bunch of different friend groups from a really young age. I was friends with the jockey, kind of popular, sporty kids. At the same time, I had a lot of friends that were like video game nerds, more introverted, didn't like sports. I loved hanging out with those kids as well. I hung out to some kids that maybe made poor decisions from a younger age. So really, I never neglected anybody, and
Were you an athlete? You were in on
I did. I played football for about a year and a half. Not very good, but I was athletic overall, pretty coordinated. I started lifting a lot of weights in high school. I got kind of big and strong in high school and stuff like that, and was friends with all the athletic kids and stuff like that. But I was introduced to alcohol with that from a young age, and I started drinking very young, and all the signals everything pointed early at a young age that holy shit, this kid may have an issue with some alcohol. You know,
So
he's the great.
did you find working out first before alcohol?
That's hilarious. I've never actually been asked that question before, and I found alcohol first.
Okay.
But the thing, because I got drunk the first time in middle school, which is pretty
Mhm.
crazy. And I'm not going to say any names who I was with, but
Yeah.
my friend may see this podcast. Love you still, my man. No, but anyhow, got drunk really young in middle school, and then it's not like alcohol. I wasn't like frequently drinking throughout high school to the point where I needed it or I was craving it. It was just I couldn't stop once I put it in me, and those signs start.
I know at my high school, like the jocks were kind of the drinkers. Like, was that
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
house parties and everything?
yeah, craziness. Somehow already by freshman year, kids' parents were leaving for the weekend, and kids were throwing full blown 100-person kegers parties. Freshman year. Yeah, ridiculous.
So then, but you saw the value in working out.
So anyhow, alcohol. I
Buff?
essentially
Not real buff early in high school. Were you buff?
junior senior year. Yeah, I was like a thicker kid. Like I was stocky and kind of big but strong. And
Hmm.
I was obsessed with bench press. I remember just insanely obsessed with bench press. But anyhow, throughout high school, I started partying, and my thoughts were always I wasn't introduced to really depression yet, or like anxiety, or at least just negative thinking at times. When you're young, it's like you just feel like you could just keep going and you're on top of the world, and you throw up, you wake up the next morning, you're fine, whatever. Ended
So
up continue.
it through high school without really hitting a real deep dark depression or angsty phase, or
Not, no, I didn't. No, I definitely did not get depressed in high school, but I was blacking out. I had an excellent reputation aside from drinking. Like
Mhm.
people loved me. I was so friendly. I was nice. I was humble. I gave everyone the time of the day. People really respected me and liked me. But when I drank, I was like a whole different human being, and those signs showed heavily throughout high school already.
Okay.
The depression didn't kick, and then also I went into Arizona State University out of high school, which is the biggest party school in the United, maybe one of them in the world, not just the United States, but maybe even the world. And everyone was kind of laughing, like, "Oh God, like let's see how Nick does when he goes."
Nick
Oh,
plus
that's
ASU, yeah, or
this
ASU.
doesn't sound good, This doesn't
Yeah.
sound good, and everyone's foresight was correct. It was not good, and I drank more and got in trouble, and then I got suspended from Arizona State. Um,
So you now you're already in college, but did you have negative thoughts?
Not yet, and
No.
and I always think about this.
Yeah, you were like just the
Okay. The depression was starting to become more real because I would get arrested for a public intoxication, or a destruction of property, and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm going to court. I got court now, so
then
it's
you like
not.
start beating yourself up, kind of like, oh, why am I like this, kind of
Like
stuff.
this is it not yeah okay, so I think I had already been kind of questioning myself in high school, but I was too young to actually dive in and do anything about it. The FOMO was real. I didn't want to miss out. I felt like if my friends could do it, then I'm also going to do it,
Yeah.
even though they can do it responsibly and not get in trouble and do it like normal human beings. I'm going to do that. That's my pride and ego, which I didn't even realize I had until I was able to work a spiritual program like a year and a half ago. I literally didn't even know what my pride and ego was. I didn't think I was a prideful human being. I didn't think I was really an egotistical guy either, but it always manifests in its own subtle, sneaky ways.
Yeah.
But anyhow, no, it started. The depression started kicking up in college, due to drinking, and then opioids were introduced, which is its own little new beast. And then by the time I'm a couple years out of ASU, then the depression's getting real. It's
As people kind of get a picture of what alcoholism and addiction look like, you didn't drink because you were depressed or because you had negative thoughts or anything like that. You just drank because you wanted to drink.
Dude, nope. I drank to socialize, to party, to have fun. I was overweight as a young kid. I'm sure there was some insecurity, self-esteem there, but the alcohol was in me. Like
And then
it's just
with the addiction, it also wasn't like, oh, I'm trying to escape my whole problems. It was just like I like the effect.
it was kind of funny. So drugs were pretty big in my high school amongst certain people. From a young age, you always hear about the kids that are doing the drugs, and particularly OxyContin was a really popular drug in my high school. And we were aware of all the older kids doing it and stuff. And I remember I used to point fingers. I remember like, oh, I can't believe these people are doing OxyContin.
Mm-hmm.
They're addicted to drugs. That's crazy. Their life, this and that. I'm never gonna do that. Blah blah blah. And then, sure enough, I graduate from high school and I'm trying opioids. I'm
Right.
trying for no reason really, aside from curiosity and
They
that I had already.
they kind of found you. Like you didn't seek them out, right?
No, it was. I mean, and again, where at the beginning I said I was friends with everyone growing up,
Yeah.
from jockey kids to even nerdy kids that I talked to. I mean, what's the definition of a nerd anyhow?
Mm-hmm.
But smart kids that are actually super interesting to speak with nowadays. But and the troublemakers
Mm-hmm.
and the troublemakers, and it came. I think that came from hanging with the troublemakers.
Right. It's so interesting, because it's interesting to just figure out how people find their different vices. So
Yeah, yeah. They kind of. Yeah, they just kind of slowly ingrained with me.
by the time you were at ASU, you were addicted to drugs already.
So that's when my okay, weed was a thing from I started smoking weed really young age. I guess everyone that I grew up with was addicted to weed. We. Smoked a lot of weed.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so ASU, my sophomore year, I found myself starting to do opioids like once a week. Then maybe twice a week. Sometimes, if I could get an extra $20, maybe a third. It didn't become daily at ASU, but I lived next to a guy who sold drugs, and it just started. It started picking up. It
Yeah.
started.
I'm hearing that it wasn't really a reaction to your negative thinking or us trying to escape. You were just had drugs around you and you found them and you just got addicted to them.
I just basically got addicted due to who I was surrounded. And I tried my first opioid right out of high school, and I remember trying it. And then I went to ASU, and I remember I was introduced to that same opioid randomly. My friend's roommate had them, and I was like, oh, I remember those. I was like, I remember that from high school. I tried that one
Yeah,
time, and
yeah,
then I was like, oh, you sell those?
yeah,
Yeah, all right. Let's try more.
yeah.
And that's kind of how that, and then it just continued to progress, and obviously alcohol as well the whole time, and by the
How
time,
far we can fast forward here, but like then you were in your addiction for many years.
so then I came home from ASU, and yeah, the opioids were just bad. It got really bad. It progressed to daily. It progressed to really fit, running around trying to make sure I could get my fix and things like that,
Did the
and then
depression and negative thinking start to?
oh my God, now the negative thinking is becoming real. So I would say by 2016, 2017, the happy Nick.
Give us a reference of like how old you were because you were out of college.
So
I don't know what your
so
college.
so I was out, and by the way, I did graduate from college, and in addiction, kind of crazy, in active addiction. But anyhow, so by 2016, I'm about 22 or 23 years old. So I'm still I felt old at the time, right? And then I look back now that I'm 30, and I'm like, my God,
You're
it's
still,
crazy how skewed my life was at
still
that time.
young. I'm still young.
Oh,
It's just how you look. It's all perspective. We think we're old when we're 21 or 18 or whatever.
that's true. You always feel like you're older. And no, now that I've read books and studied and put some things in perspective, I'm finally aware that, oh yeah, this is just the
So
beginning.
you got out of you graduated and then like you were in your addiction and I don't know what consequences you want to talk about here, but like you started to face consequences and then that's when you start to get depressed and like negative thinking and starting to beat yourself up, or
Totally, absolutely, yeah. Consequences. I think there was legal consequences, neurological consequences from the actual substances I was putting in, physical withdrawal consequences. So
oh yeah,
by now,
literally changed your brain. Like the drugs and alcohol probably changed your healthy brain.
they're just changing how I'm viewing society. How I'm looking at things. How I'm. It may sound it absolutely changes a lot. Yeah. I remember always assuming like everyone was like anytime I'd see like two people randomly in a parking lot, I'd be like, oh, they're definitely meeting up to do drugs. All these false,
Right.
it's probably just two normal people. But yeah, your way you start to look at things gets skewed a bit.
Yeah. And then
Absolutely.
like with that programming, was that based on like people you were hanging out with, or just things that you came up with in your mind, like about why everybody else was doing drugs? Like how do you think you put that together?
Yeah, I've made a lot of excuses through the years, victim mentality or just like, okay, if I could still kind of maintain a little bit and maybe go to the gym a little bit or do this, I'm okay. Or, I remember I would always listen to rap music and like if I heard rappers talk about like, oh, I'm going to sip syrup or I'm like, okay, well, if they're doing it, then I can do it too, or pop culture.
It seems like that, like if you were seeing that other people were doing drugs, you were judging that they were doing drugs, or prejudging, even if they weren't. Like that was just a reflection of yourself. Like, oh, they're like me, kind of like that.
Dude, that's hilarious. Yeah. And like false readings.
Right.
False
Like,
readings.
oh, all these people are on drugs just because you were in that space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then imagine how that would manifest in other areas. Just and then, you know, so my depression, I don't think I maybe had a little ADD growing up and stuff like that, but my depression and anxiety and everything that I dealt with was substance induced. I know for a fact. It was
I mean,
from results of
I can open up about my challenges too. Is that I I got hit with a huge wave of like depression in high school, and my I kind of changed inwardly. I was just this depressed person who would then be looking for drugs after that. But with the addition of the drugs, it makes them all worse. So then my anxiety got worse, my depression got worse, with my substance abuse.
absolutely. It feels like it's gonna like be the answer to the problem in the moment, and like, oh, I don't have to feel sad or, but who is it gonna? It's just gonna times it tenfold. It'll times it like infinite. It just keeps timesing it more until you stop and change things.
Yeah.
It,
So, but you on your journey, like you tried to get sober a couple times.
yeah, and this is alcohol and opioids, so they were both. Well, okay, it's kind of funny too. So keep in mind, I blacked out for the first time ever when I was like 14 years old, and I blacked out in high school and college, and then once 2000, when I came home from ASU, the party time, I wasn't at the fraternity parties doing the kegers anymore. I had FOMO, so now I could really hone in on my opioids, right? Like I could just go to my classes and then really do my opioid addiction. So with that, I kind of forgot about drinking, right? I'm not an no, I'm not an alcoholic. Like
Right. Right.
no, I have a problem with opioids.
Yeah.
I can drink. So let's bring back the alcohol.
Yeah.
And did that not go well, right?
Yeah. And now,
It
did you quit the opioids, or you just did the alcohol and the opioids?
it was on and off. There was sometimes there was time I had gotten on Suboxone maintenance at one point, so I was able to really tone down my using, even though it wasn't fully out of the way. It wasn't a daily occurrence. Maybe it became a weekly occurrence, once a week. Weird little thing. So, but I never had it fully licked. I would always like after. Sometimes I'd maybe do it a lot in a couple weeks. Sometimes it'd be once a month. But it was really bad, my opioid addiction, a daily thing in the mid 2010s. So from 2014 to 2017,
Mm-hmm.
was a daily thing. And then after that, it was still there, but it was calmed down dramatic quite a bit. But so I would, and I always thought I was one or the other. Like I was either an addict, I wasn't an alcoholic, I'm an opioid guy and vice versa. And it took me a long time to accept both. And yeah, the first time I came on into AA was like 2000. I'm going to say it. I am a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I work the 12-step programs, and I'm a very proud member of it. And it's changed my life entirely and how I view things. And I'm the happiest I've ever been. And I can genuinely and honestly say that. But yeah, it's I'm trying to think what was I saying,
Where
Brandon? Before
you found your first program of yeah.
that's what it was. 2014, like court ordered, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So I remember I came. Shout out to Ethan. I'm not even going to say his last name, but he was my first ever sponsor, and you're the man. I hope you're doing well, dude. If you see this, but yeah, he tried to sponsor me in 2014 or 12 or 14. I'd stay around for a couple months. I went out. I'd start drinking and using again, and then I think I came back in 2016. I tried, and then in 2019 I tried, and I would always. I'm not going to say it didn't work. It was my doing always because there's only three things that a 12-step program recommends, and it's to show up to meetings regularly, to work the spiritual steps of recovery, and to have a sponsor. And I wouldn't do all of those things. I would try to do some of them, and then I would cut out, and I would kind of blame whatever AA or whatever. But I knew there was something there. Like
Well,
I was getting some information. Like I knew like it could be done though if
on
I did it correctly.
the topic of like the negative thinking and stuff, like what do you
Yeah.
think it was when like I even mentioned like, oh, you could find this great thing and it's this whole thing that could reprogram you like a 12-step program or a rehab or whatever. Like why do you think that you your mind told you not to go? Is it more just you're so addicted, or do you think it's more like you don't think you're worthy, or fear? Have
It
you?
was fear. It was fear. I mean, the early 2010s, I was still kind of young, in my 20s. There was still like I don't know if I'm fully ready to give this type of stuff up yet.
Was
I
it the
like it.
was it the FOMO again?
FOMO, yeah. I think with drinking and using, I still had peers that were drinking and using, so I was like jealous that they were able to and I wasn't able to. And I think I just wasn't, maybe I was young, immature, FOMO, fears. I remember I would get scared of the old timers sometimes heavily approaching me, when I was early on in meetings and stuff, and they were just doing it out of the goodness of their heart, trying to look out after me. So there was a few reasons, I would just, yeah, I wasn't fully ready to do it, but I knew when I went, I felt better and I felt happier. And like I was learning about something that I know was changing a lot of people's lives. But also there was skepticism. I'm not going to lie at the beginning. When I would show up to rooms, I was like, what, people are strange. But with the rewiring, Brandon, I mean, it's just, you can go from being okay, well, listen to this. So I was participating in some San Francisco Narcotics Anonymous meetings when I lived in San Francisco a while ago, and there was a gentleman who lived on the streets for 22 years on 16th and Mission and 17th and Mission in the Mission District of San Francisco. He didn't leave like a 1 block radius for, I think he said, like 22 years. And all he did was eat out of trash cans and use his substance of choice. And with that, he had intense schizophrenia, intense anxiety, talking to himself, voices, this, that. This man, since completely clean. I don't know how long he's been clean now. At least a few, 4 or 5 years. All of his teeth are back. He affords his own one-bedroom apartment in San Francisco. Has a girlfriend with stepchildren. Has a job. Works the steps, and he's happy. And when you hear things like this, that's maximum example of rewiring the brain and neuroplasticity
Right.
through. And I'm not. I truly think you can rewire things just through spiritual principles,
Right.
which is not even through medication, right? We don't even have to get scientific with it.
Right.
We could literally use the power of our own brain.
Well, we don't
And
know if that guy did medication or not, but
no, I don't.
but I mean,
I
some people, they use medication, and some people like. Point is like a medication might get you on the right track. Um, uh, uh, Changing things up, going to therapy, going to a 12-step program probably might get you on the right track. It's just kind of this idea of conscious reprogramming is just like doing something that you don't want to do, doing something that works for anybody, like, and then sticking to it.
I think absolutely. It comes down to doing not what you're wanting to do, contrary action, showing up, and then also if I think even on a deeper level, if you learn how to if you get really really good at meditating, it's deeper than just action that changes your brain. So it's that, but it's hard to describe with words. Words are just words, but yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
one
well,
hundred percent, Brandon.
since we're on the topic of like 12-step groups, like there's so much there. There's so much information, so many steps, so many books, and so many people to help. And like that obviously helps a lot of people. But like, yeah, you wonder if somebody could just change their whole life just with meditation or just with prayer or just with a simple practice.
I I know so. I mean, well, for me to go from extreme anxiety, extreme depression, difficulty to even pay attention to a conversation I was in, difficulty to return a phone call, difficulty to take a shower at times, to cook a meal. If I could go from having these negative, just default thoughts, like right first thing I wake up and my eyes open and it's just negativity and it's going to be hard to get through the day and I'm going to have to play defense against myself and I'm barely going to be on offense. If I could go from living like that for over a year to being the happiest that I've ever possibly been, to have an entirely new perspective on life, to have this massive sense of gratitude without anything but spirituality. I'm just so convinced because I did it. I did it.
Right.
And I was so fucking depressed. But the thing is, I've meditated every single day for 18 months, and I do it for 15, 20 minutes. And I'm not saying this on a boastful way. I'm saying this is the type of work that may be required. And I also pray every single day. And I change my prayers and I find new ones and I try to find the ones that actually sit the deepest with me. And when one's not sitting, and I've learned to feel that, I can somehow feel it. And then I can switch my prayer and then get even more results. Like these things that don't make sense with words, but you can feel.
Right.
That's the craziest thing ever. But yeah, meditation changed everything. And I'm convinced that like ancient civilizations and like these gurus and warriors and like all these profound people like Einstein and Gandhi and even like Bill Gates, like they have these contemplation practices where they may not call it meditation, they call it their own thing, but I think it's the practice is all the same. They're spending time with themselves and they're slowing their thoughts down
Right.
and they're focusing on essentially nothing, and then the side effects of it are just remarkable.
Yeah, my story is kind of that, I tried a lot of things. I tried a lot of books and I tried
Mm.
all kinds of different programs and trying to do it or not do it. But like eventually, even after being a couple years sober, it wasn't until I really like made some kind of a distinction in my head that like I'm not my thoughts that really changed things.
And that's so big to rewire too, because we're not our thoughts. We're not, the fears and the negativity. We're the observer. We're always observing those thoughts. I mean, if you get into it, like you're the spirit. Some people say like 50%, like, the human is, this is some deep stuff, but things are 50% learned with your brain and environment and, upbringing. And then 50% is just your spirit character, you know?
Well, I'm hearing you're going on thing, but like, okay, um, like I feel like the spirit can be very clouded in today's society. Where like our spirit is deep inside, but like we're just taught so much crap that's not correct that like your spirit can't even come through at a certain point if you're taught too
That
much.
that's damn. That was some deep. That was awesome. Like your spirit can't even come through, and
You're piled on with bad food, drugs and alcohol, negativity, commercialism, ego. You're just piled on. That's just how I felt in my life. It's like you're just piled on with so much crap that like who is the spirit anymore if you're just like programmed by society, you know?
and I didn't even know a spirit existed either. I didn't really believe in it. Like I thought everything was just the brain. The
Well,
brain, the brain, which you kind of, the brain's a lot of power, but
even to talk from that perspective, when I say spirit, like I mean like the truth, like I mean like
yeah,
deep principles like love and kindness, like even because I don't want to scare people away who don't believe in spirituality, but when I say
sure.
spirituality I mean like truth and kindness and love, and it's like even that is just like pushed down deep down inside, and it's like no, you have to chase money, you have to chase girls and drugs, and it's like that's how my life kind of looked.
I read a book that said like society worldwide made that shift in like the 1600s. I don't know how accurate this is, but the worldwide society went from being more of like a curiosity, philosophical society of religion, philosophy, science, astrology, astronomy, I guess whatever they called it in that era, one or the other. And it was all kind of about what is this, and then in the 1600s it shifted towards you know consume how we have to make money and work, and now it's let's fuck screw the curiosity while we're here, like we have to survive and maintain. So it's just the way that society's been and how it will be. And I know the United States is more so than a lot of other countries as well, but it's hard to hone in on that when we're so busy and that's our programming. Our programming is just to go go go, make money, move quick, consume,
That's part of it.
consume.
There's no time to sit around and ponder things for the
No, like you shouldn't research philosophy, you shouldn't figure out why you're here, you shouldn't figure out what different wild animals do in different ecosystems and plant lives and herbs, and no, just go work for somebody.
or
you
even
know
we're at a point in our society where people you don't even chase what you want to do, you just chase what's going to make you the most money. Like they don't
ex-
ask like what do you want to do, like I mean for me I want to be an artist, it's like oh well that's probably not going to make you much money, like you want to go find something to fall back on.
it's pretty cool. I actually went to I'm not necessarily religious, but I attended a service with my friend on Sunday who's Christian. And the pastor, I believe it was the pastor, he had a really cool, I really resonated with this. He said, like, when we meet people in public in American society, the first introduction we have is like, what do you do?
Right,
And rather than like, who are you?
right.
And he was explaining how in Europe it's like, well, I'm a pianist, I'm a violinist, I eat cheese, I work out,
Yeah,
and here it's like I'm an accountant.
yeah,
Um,
I've always struggled with that, like because that is kind of the first thing girls ask or the first thing family asks or whatever is like oh who are you, what do you do, not, I mean more like what where do you work, and then but I mean like now I get to say like, oh, I work on my podcast, and that's like a whole opens up a whole world of like I'm a creative person who likes to talk to other people. So I mean,
and I don't even think we can't even blame everyone either, because that's just how they were taught, and then those people that were taught, and then those people that were taught, and supposedly it's been like that since the 1600s, I guess. And
oh,
and that's just from one book that I've read. So who knows how accurate that is? It could be longer. I don't know.
I still would ask somebody that question like, oh, where do you do? Because like
Yeah.
just getting to know them, and that's I guess that's how I'm programmed to just try to get to know somebody because it's just such a big part of our lives what we do. But I mean, I guess what's more important is who we are, what we enjoy in life.
And I guess what we do too, that doesn't necessarily have to mean work. It could be like you do other things, but I guess that's just where we default to we just assume it's work based, which
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
most people's intention, is to find out where you work probably.
Yeah, no, so that's an interesting conversation right there. But um, we'll go on.
No, I was just gonna say, Brandon, like, well, first of all, it's been a great chat, and I hope I don't veer off on topics too much. Sometimes I get passionate about certain things, and I'm not against medication at all, by the way. I've been on medication. I've been on multiple medications that actually saved my life. They really did. And I'm not saying anything against doctors or this or that. I'm just saying that something as simple as quieting your mind over extended periods of time consistently and then having a faith in whatever created all of this, it can shift things inside. And then also a thing with conscious reprogramming is I'm just saying that whatever views you have and opinions and judgments and resentments, it's only fixed if you want to make it fixed, but you can truly change your views and your outlook, and you can change anything. Your brain is a lot of liquid, it's very, it can move. It's yeah. So you can change anything.
So you the meditation, what did they say about meditation? Like, is it like you're able to create more connections by just quieting down the mind for a little while each day, or how does meditation even work?
I mean, the first like 2 or 3 weeks of doing it like consistently, I was like, my anxiety kind of went down slightly. Like I felt like my heart rate, and I'm not saying while meditating. This happens while meditating, but I'm saying permanently.
Right.
So I'm at doing it for like a few weeks straight, and then like, okay, that ingrained kind of permanently now. And then after a few months, okay, that kind of ingrained permanently now. And then after 6 months, like, okay, that kind of ingrained permanently now. But it just, the thing is when you pop a pill or take a medication, you feel the relief quite instant. Meditation doesn't really work like that, but it's just what it did is it slowed my thoughts down so much. That includes all the negative thoughts, which then includes anxiety, which then anxiety can lead to stress, or stress can lead to anxiety, and then anxiety can lead to depression. So therefore, all those things start with the thoughts, and those are the roots and the depths of where these negative emotions come from. But if you can get in there and clean that out and slow all of that down, there's something by stopping the function of your brain, like slowing the thoughts down. It can't sabotage you. It can't like self-sabotage as easily anymore over time, over extended amount. This isn't just like you meditate for a week and it works, but over time you're not as anxious anymore. And then when you're not as anxious, things become more truthful. You can get to the truth and the root of things more. Oh, I'm not judging that person as much anymore. I'm not as greedy anymore on this situation. So all of a sudden, it's like if there is a spirit, if it's real, imagine just being able to somehow work on your spirit, like train your spirit. And then if you can train that, if it's real, whatever, and imagine just the side effects that you could have from that. But the
Well,
thing is, it's not like a quick Western style relief. We like quick relief here.
well, that's why it's interesting to try to explain it in a scientific way when really it might be very much a spiritual experience, you know?
Well, and you could get into some of the brain scans too with countless doctors. And there's a main neuro scientist out there, the guy who healed his vertebrae discs through meditation or whatever. I don't know.
Oh,
I
was
forget his name. Oh, Espinoza,
Espinosa?
Doctor,
Oh,
or what's it? Doctor something.
Benza?
Yeah.
Or
Wait, what was
I know. Well, I know there's Joe Dispenza.
Joe
I
Dispenza?
didn't know if he was
Sorry,
a doctor, but Joe Dispenza. Then there was
I think he was a psych, maybe not a MD, but he has a doctor's. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah. So he's healed his spine. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, if and people probably think he's crazy and this and that, but yeah, he. There's a video of him to where he messed his back up so bad to where I think he had countless surgeries and this and that. And he was so deep into meditation to where one day he was meditating and he was like, I'm just going to focus on this part of my spine, focus all my consciousness on
Right.
this part of my spine.
Wow.
And then he did that for I think like 6 months or I don't know how many, and he would do it for hours every day. I guess he would meditate and think about that one area of his body for hours, and he would think about restructuring it and healing it. And he was so good at meditating that his focus wasn't even broken. And he said he did that for months through over time, and or we I don't know how long, but he healed it. And that comes down to like the monks resisting extreme temperatures, or Hoffman method, being able to dive into this ice fucking water that, normal you and I can't do that. Because he's trained his mind.
For too long.
We could, but we're gonna fucking pay the consequence. We can't do it as long as he can. And that's it's your body gets used to things as well. But these people have all somehow, they're able to get into meditative states through breath work and things like that as well. So I just feel like there's slowing the brain down, and then your ideas somehow are better. Your epiphanies and realizations become more frequent.
That's what I want to talk to you about too. Is okay. So now you clear out everything in your brain. You clear out all the negative thoughts, and you've been meditating all the time. You're more mindful. And then what kind of epiphanies have you had now that
The world's not against me?
Yeah.
That the world's not against me, that I don't always have to be right. I don't always have to win. Things that will change your day to day like none other. Things that'll just absolutely be like, why was I stressing over this? And I was so anxious over that, and spinning my wheels over this. It just makes you more spiritual somehow. There's a direct relation between spirituality and meditation. And there's somehow the results of that, it's the side effects are infinite. And you don't even have to think about completing the side effects. They just start happening.
Yeah, I'm thinking of almost like you're just like you're coming at things with an open mind and an open channel, but then like you're more able to identify the truth. Like when somebody starts talking about positivity or not trying to control everything or something, you're just like more open to like, oh, that makes sense.
And you can see people's bullshit way easier as well. which and that you have to use that, and that doesn't mean to start just blowing off everyone who you think is a bullshitter and to this and that. But it's just you become more conscious of everything, and then if you're more conscious of it, it's a little more accurate and it's more truthful, and therefore if you do that over and over, your results in life are just way better.
Yeah, when you talk about seeing other people's bullshit, like it's kind of like identifying patterns of like, okay, this person doesn't have what I want at all, and this is kind of how they act and behave. And they could be like negative and very like limiting beliefs and in fear limiting beliefs, and and then you're just like, they don't have what I want, and they're not doing what maybe somebody who has what I want spiritually, mentally, a good relationship, or they're sober, or they're have financial success. Like there's so many different ways to measure success, but like you could see that like I just see the certain characteristics of positive characteristics, which is like heroes of mine, like Tony Robbins or Gary Vee or Leo from Actualized, or whoever the case may be, is like they have personality traits that are like, oh, of course they're like that because they're like successful, and that's why they are so nice to other people. They've learned along the line that they can't just treat everybody like crap and be fearful. They've learned how to maneuver in this world.
Like emotional, their emotional intelligence is really good.
Yeah, because
I always thought I had good emotional intelligence, but then I wasn't good with my own or whatever.
Yeah, because I heard this because I used to work at a kind of like a multi-level marketing, and they would teach us positive principles and kind of teach us how millionaires carry themselves and stuff. But health company, but it was like they started to point out these patterns to me, which are like a successful person, a millionaire genuinely goes into a room and kind of says hi to everybody and treats everybody well in the room.
That's an interesting trend, and that makes total sense to me.
Like, have you noticed that? If you ever met some high level, like the boss of a company, because there can be bosses in the company who are toxic, but like the real high level guys are trying to schmooze everybody and trying to be like on the best terms with everybody.
Dude, I have a great example of this, and I've worked when I worked in the tech industry as a recruiter for a while. There was so many examples of everyone would be like, "Dude, the VP's coming in," or like the director of engineering, or director of recruitment, or director of product development, data science. I don't know. All these rumors and whatever people be freaking about. And every time I would meet someone at a high level in my company, I was always like, "Dude, they're so much easier to engage with and speak with, and they seem so friendly and nice and personable. Why was everyone so scared?" And then I think about it, it's like, well, to get to a position of that stature, I think people have to like you, you know?
They know, they've learned like some spiritual truths. Generally, I mean, there could be some like people who just like crawled their way to the top and stepped on people to get there. But my point
That
is,
happens too. It does happen too.
my point is that the people up there, they at least know how to act like, they care about everybody. And I think that some of them genuinely do just help people all day long. And they know that that's the way to wealth, is to just be helping people all the way through.
I think it'll pay off massive dividends at some point or another.
That was like
Absolutely.
that was like a Jim Rohn thing too, was he's like, a millionaire isn't the reason he has money is because he helped a million people. He sold his product to a million people. That's why he's a millionaire.
That's so true. If you're literally just solving problems and genuinely trying to help people with the intention, it's always like, what is your intention? I think it'll pay off in the end. If your goal is, yeah, if that's a goal of yours, 100%.
So, if these if I can just throw this out there, and Nick can find examples in his life, like, I think these are truths where people at high levels who are successful, they generally have certain traits.
I think so. I think they have certain traits. And I think a lot of them is, don't let the fear talk you out of things, talking to dial that number or send that email or post that link to share your product. Or I think they're fearless go-getters, true hustlers.
But there are
True
some,
hustlers.
I feel like there has to be sociopaths up there too, who are kind of like, they just do, they kind of just act like they're nice to everybody, but really they're like, they just do it for themselves. Like, I feel like that happens too.
Dude, and they're out there, and even those people who have a lot super wealthy and rich, dude. I feel like the earth and the universe, if you're a true sociopath, dude, behind closed doors when no one's seeing you, they're not happy. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. They
Right.
may appear like it, but at home, behind the doors, when they're alone, be, they're miserable. They're miserable people,
Right.
and they don't
It's
know
a
how to.
certain personality trait, which would be always needing to be climbing up the chain, and just like always be needing to be the best. And I've talked to people who talk about certain bosses who are like always just comparing themselves to everybody else, and like so in the competitive spirit that they couldn't be happy because they're always just judging themselves versus another person.
Dude, that's a yeah, and I think people who get far and accomplish things they want to do, or they're hard on themselves, but it can become a fault, and it can be too much, and it becomes a negative rather than a positive. And that's what happened to me, is where I'd be so hard on myself with just my working or my martial arts or even my meditating and stuff. At one point, it was a fault to where I was aggressive to make sure I meditated and prayed.
Right.
Anything can become a fault, you know.
For true happiness, we're talking about not just like getting to the top, like Michael Jordan or something, but like for true happiness is like perfectionism. I feel is not going to make you truly happy,
No, at
because
the core, true happiness. No, it won't.
because truly being perfect, or truly being the most highly skilled, most intelligent person, like, isn't possible. You're always gonna. I thought about this week, is there's always highs and lows, and that's what's fun. That's what's fun about life, especially once you realize it. Who is it that said like life's a ride, life's a roller coaster? But it's like, as long as you know that, like, okay, right now it's a high, and like tomorrow might literally be a low again, and then the next
Mhm.
day will be a high and then a low, then it's like you are then prepared to handle life's challenges.
I absolutely agree with that, and definitely always. There's always ebbs and flows, cause and effect, rhymes and reason, rhythm, principle of rhythm. Don't let it scare you. Don't let it be like, oh well, my happiness is ending and I'm gonna be negative and manifest it necessarily. But yeah, I agree with that. And understanding that is huge.
Because you talked about this on the show. Let me try to remember. It was about not believing your emotions when you're deep in your emotions, because like that's how it's gonna feel. Like right now, it's like I shot a bunch of podcasts today, and I'm like, oh, I enjoy what I'm doing, and hopefully these get some views. Maybe I'll get 100 views. Maybe I'll get 1,000 views, and I'll be like, oh, this is so great. And then it's like the next day, it's like I get no views, and I get some trolls telling me I suck, and then it's like you're down at the bottom
You
again.
don't want to do it
Yeah.
anymore.
So it's like but it's like you just have to be prepared for the ups and the downs. And Tom Hanks said it, but he said like this too shall pass, which means a good time, this too shall pass, a bad time, this too shall pass, and then you just try to stay even keel.
Hell yeah, amen to that. Everything shall pass. Keep expectations out of it as much as you can. Like my martial arts coach, I was asking him for words of wisdom, and he just said, "Don't have expectations with it, like anything. Just come in with a clean, neutral slate,
Right.
and if you could truly accept that, then you won't. You can never be disappointed."
Yeah, my cousin just sent me one about Will Ferrell, a video about Will Ferrell, which was like he was in a conversation with his dad, and then his dad was saying like, oh, you have your degree, your college degree to kind of like fall back on. So just go out there and have a good time. It was kind of like along those lines. But it's like as soon as he could just say like I'm going out there to have a good time and like this isn't I don't need this, then he just went out there and had a good time, did whatever the hell he wanted.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah, dude, just find, purpose, passion. I'm trying this entrepreneurial thing right now too. I'm going for the Etsy shop. I'm gonna do some other side gigs. I'm doing some transcribing here and
Yeah.
this there, but I want to try to do it on my own, man, and at least give it a go.
This is kind of just like a mindset thing, but it's like because when you're running a business or when I have my podcast and I'm like, if I ever wanted to be profitable or something, it's like, what am I trying to say? It's like, give me a second. Let me pause this for a second.
You're good. Take your time, my good sir.
It's like, imagine this is like an abundant mindset, which is like, whether I succeed or fail, it's not going to be the end of me.
I love it.
And then with that mindset, now I'm better able to go out there because now the fear can be eliminated. And then it's because you're not going to get anything from just like this fearful place.
Yeah, fear, dude. Yeah, if you just throw that all to the wayside, because it could creep in such minor things as like there's big fear, but then there's small fears that dictate our day that we're not realizing are dictating our days. And if you can become aware of those.
Yeah, because I was selling stuff too over the weekend, and it's kind of like, oh, this kind of person didn't buy, or this kind of item didn't sell, and then that's gonna like affect my whole strategy. But it's like you just got to do your strategy no matter what. You got to just put everything out there and just say hope that someone's gonna like what you put out there.
Dude, I like that, man. Can't get the cold feet, analysis paralysis, whatever. And yeah, I was feeling that too. Like even with our Etsy shop, our sales slow down for like 5 days, and I'm like all of a sudden getting extremely neurotic. Should we do this, do that, lower the hatches, change that?
Yeah. Like, what do you think for a strategy? Like, would it be just like put more stuff up, like, or like, what would the strategy be? Be patient, or what do you think?
Oh, in particular, well, I think wait, what do you mean for products on Etsy, or
Yeah,
you're saying
yeah,
just
yeah. For you're starting an online business, you're selling stuff online, and then you're like, okay, stuff's not selling. Does that mean you just got to be patient? Does it mean you have to adjust your strategy? Does it mean you have to post more, or what does it mean?
we have a few. Okay, I wish I had I could spend a lot of money on more inventory because then yeah, I would just make the shop complete or more complete. You don't want to spend too much money on inventory and then all of a sudden you don't sell anything and you have all this shit. But yeah, it would be nice to have a legit store where people could actually browse different items, and actually have rather than just shoving makeup, So it would be nice to, and we definitely will, and that's our goal. But we don't want to have too much inventory on our hands either, you know.
So other than that, you posted everything you have it posted, right?
Pretty much, yeah, and yeah.
And then now it's just gonna be patient, right?
You take the patient, and there's ways you could, you know, there's little things that you can kind of do, barely, that who knows if they really make a difference or not, like SEO keywords. You know, there's this app that I just got where it analyzes my Etsy page and it gives me a grade on how good the whole page is, and then it tells me how to. I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool. It's called it's what was it called? Toof, or wait, yeah, Toof.ai, TOOF, like Toof. I don't
Yeah,
really get it, but
it feels like it's like the research and strategizing phase, which is like now you're going to improve what you have up and like you're going to get it into SEO and you're going to figure out what people do that are successful, what they do.
that's basically. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's all.
Yeah, researching, dude, totally. Like playing with prices, raising them, lowering them, you know, changing this description, figuring out our suppliers, who's going to give us the best product, you know, which actually we just found an in-person supplier down the way who's kind of hidden. I'm like, ooh,
Oh,
cool. We could actually go into their warehouse and look at the makeup. But
yeah.
yeah, so things like that, dude, and it all eventually will add up and you know, hopefully make a difference for sure.
Yeah, and I'm kind of researching like, okay, should I post shorts? Should I post clips? And like, should I do it like you kind of just have to do it all the different platforms. But I think it's kind of a lot about just getting your name out there, and then
I think
once people can find you, then it's like then that's success right there. Is once people can find you and they want what you have.
dude, that's that's what we want. That's definitely what we want. It's like people searching for you, you know.
So,
To find you. We
so we're
tried to put stuff on the TikTok shop, but they have some serious checks and balances to get your product on there. But we'll hopefully we'll get it on there.
yeah, you get on TikTok Shop and make videos. And is that part of it? TikTok Shop is you got to make videos and show your product and stuff.
You have to link it to an account for sure, and then they want the LLC. They want more than that too. They wanted even proof of like if you are reselling things. They wanted the like your trade that you have a trademark for your logo maybe. So all these things like crazy things that Amazon and other platforms didn't ask for. But
Oh wow,
yeah,
that is a lot.
yeah, it's interesting how they
So
do it. But apparently people are selling stuff on that. But yeah, with that we'll be
that makes
making
sense though,
videos.
because like I could just take all your logo and just like set up a shop and like could just not be legit at all. So
Yeah, that's true.
they're
That
probably
is true.
they're just trying to fight against thieves and stuff. But have you heard TikTok might be shutting down?
No, dude. Is that true?
I've been seeing stuff on Instagram that says that there's like legislation passed and they're gonna shut
They
it.
seem shady. I mean, it seems I've been on. I love the app. The algorithm's amazing, and the content that I get to my personal TikTok is pretty damn amazing.
Yeah.
But I just noticed they were shady when I was, I don't know, shady, whatever. Don't quote me. Just weird questions when I was trying to authorize the seller account compared to eBay, Walmart, Amazon, and Etsy. I was like, some of these questions are they rose and the company seems a little. I have questions about the company as well.
Um.
uh,
So there's let's see. House to move ahead with bill targeting TikTok. So they're working on trying to they're trying to shut it down because it's all based out of China and everything. And they tried to shut it down 3 years ago, but then a company came in, and so we're kind of like in control of our data better now. Where like America has a certain office here, and then like the main companies in TikTok. I mean, in China, the main TikTok office is still in China. Anyways, I don't know a lot about it, but point is that TikTok has been in the news, and but in the meantime, as we wrap this up, you can find Nick's merchandise. Where can they find it at?
oh, dude, hell yeah! Please, we have mystery makeup boxes for men, women, he, they, she. It doesn't matter if you like makeup, get it. It's value based, so you're gonna get it for cheaper if you were to go to like TJ Maxx or Marshalls. But you can find us on basically Happy Picks by Mia. Happy Picks, which is two different words by Mia. Search that on Etsy, and you will find us on there. And we have mystery makeup boxes, 5 different sizes. 4 different sizes currently.
I'll get the link for the YouTube. I'll put the
Oh,
link.
that'd be.
You have a website or a shop?
We just we don't have a personal website quite yet. It's just our Etsy website, but more to be coming on a personal website as well.
All right, I'll put that down there, and then you can go find Nick at Cactus to Clouds 93.
Yeah, and then my personal TikTok account is Cactus 2 Clouds 93. One word, only one O in the two.
Hold on. I can type. I'm gonna make this as you talk. Cactus TO Clouds.
Yep.
Let's see. There it is.
Nice.
You see it on the bottom?
Yes, sir. I do. I can see it. Hell yeah. Yeah, it looks great. It looks awesome.
Let's see. What was the other one? It's called Picks to Mia. Picks.
Happy Picks by Mia.
Did you leave? All right. Well, hold on. He probably got a call or something.
No. Oh wait, sorry, Brandon. Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna I'm not leaving. I'm just closing this window so it's gonna look like I'm leaving.
Happy Picks by Mia. You can find Nick here. I'm doing a lot of plugs here at the end. I also want to say that you want to check out our episodes, Conscious Reprogramming. We really went deep on that one. We went real deep on this one, but that one we really covered a lot of ground. And the BEAR Belief Cycle episode with Roger is really, really good. I'm going to keep banging my drum. I got a desire to inspire. I want people to take conscious reprogramming seriously, take mindfulness seriously, because, even if it's one person or 5 people, you start reaching out to other people and everybody, pretty soon we all start waking up.
Collective consciousness, wake up, shift towards more of a collective society, and that absolutely.
And I can say from somebody who's kind of been waking up the last couple of years is like you start to see all these other people who are awake, like the Tony Robbinses and the Napoleon Hills, and you're like, oh, these people have been banging their drum since the 30s, but like, why hasn't their message reached everybody yet?
Good point. It's a damn good point. Yeah. I don't need to get it. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it comes. It may be coming, dude. It may be coming slowly but surely.
And we get to make our own reality. So no matter what, we get to surround ourselves with conscious people to the best of our ability.
Amen to that, man. Amen to that.
So with that, I'm going to end it with this. And thank you, Nick, for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Brandon. You the man.
Later, bro.